The number of people over 65 in the U.S. is expected to surpass the number of children in 2034, according to a 2018 study by the U.S. Census Bureau. Work is underway to see how COVID-19 deaths have impacted the pace of this prediction. Today, seniors over the age of 65 make up about 16% of the population in Boone, Campbell, and Kenton counties, according to the Census Bureau data, but that estimated number may hit 20 to 25% within the next 7 to 10 years. As of 2022, meanwhile, children under 18 in Northern Kentucky account for 23% of the 402,000 estimated Northern Kentuckians. An aging population means more people at every income level will need care. When Terry Burke's dad was diagnosed with dementia, she quit her job and moved back to Northern Kentucky to help her aging parents, who were each experiencing different types of health issues.
Yeah, we got the diagnosis. I was with my parents, and it was my first really understanding that my dad had a disease. And he said, this disease kills caregivers before it kills patients. So that caused a lot of sleepless nights. I wasn't living here then, and realized that I needed to put family first, or I wanted to, and figured out a way to change jobs and move back. I also shared that as challenging as it is for caregivers, my mom is with him 24/7. Our family really is in a good position compared to what I think a lot of families are. My parents both have pensions, they have good health insurance. I was able to change my job situation. If there are people that are kind of in the gap between Medicaid and, having some income, it's even more challenging. So we know it could be harder, I guess. I feel lucky in a lot of respects. The major one is that my parents and my sisters and I work together to try to find the best solution for whatever challenge comes our way. I know there are families that end up disagreeing and not speaking, or patients that refuse help and that isolate themselves. I think that would be very stressful as having a parent that locks you out of their life and you watch deterioration happen and you want to help and they won't accept help. So the lucky for me is my dad is still cognitive enough that he appreciates the help. He'll say, I'm so thankful you're my daughter. And then he'll say, oh, correction, you're our daughter, So if I was trying to be a caregiver to someone that was combative or had siblings that had a different opinion about how their care should be, you just layer upon layer of stress. It's stressful enough, right?
All of the little things Burke does for her parents help them remain in an independent living residence despite her dad's cognitive health decline. She said if she was not able to help as much with those tasks, she might have to move them into a much more expensive assisted living facility. Burke also takes her dad to the St. Charles Club at St. Charles in Covington for adult daycare to help with his dementia, which she said was initially a struggle to get him to attend.
It was a struggle initially, and we learned about it through support group. And he kept asking me why he was going there. And I told him it was to help his memory because he knew he was losing his memory. So after a couple of weeks and he was still unhappy, my mom felt very like we shouldn't make him do this. He doesn't like it. And then I kept saying, but everybody that knows social workers said we should keep trying. And she said, well, I guess it's no different than when we dropped you off at preschool and you cried. I said, right. So we kept doing it. And now, I bring him in, and because the type of dementia he has, he can remember some names, and he's got friends there and they call out his name when we walk in the door and they do activities. And, and there's different degrees of dementia there too. And some of the activities, when I pick him up, he'll say, well, that was kind of silly. We're grown adults, but he did it, right? And, he'll say, see you next time. So it is very much uplifting for him. If he sat at home, it would most likely be minimal. And my mom, as best she can do is just keeping the day-to-day stuff intact.
In addition to potentially slowing her dad's cognitive decline, an additional benefit of adult daycare is the respite it provides to spouses and other caregivers for patients with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia, according to Alzheimer's Association's website. Medicare does not cover the cost of the service, even for patients with dementia, unless it's part of a hospice care. Medicaid covers the cost of services under some conditions, but space for Medicaid patients may be limited, and there are waiting lists. Margie Volpenheim, a community liaison at the Senior Resource Center in Latonia, knows all too well how difficult it can be for seniors who qualify for Medicaid to go through the process of getting approved and assessing services.
So Medicare basically pays for acute care and medical. That's about it. And so the people that are coming to us might have somebody in the hospital and they're being discharged, and where do we discharge them to? Maybe we'll go to a nursing home. Well, a nursing home is not going to pay, or Medicare is not going to pay for a nursing home. They're going to pay for a limited amount of time, depending on whether or not they have some therapies that they need. And then they cut them off, and then it's $10,000 to $12,000 a month. So people can't afford that. Medicaid could jump in and pay, but there's very few Medicaid facilities around here. And the ones that are around here aren't up to par. So people don't really want to place their loved ones in the nursing facilities. But again, they can't afford them either. So we help them look for other options. In-home options that people aren't aware of. What's the difference between a non-medical and a medical care option, home health and non-medical? Whether or not they have the funds to pay for it, or if they don't have the funds to pay for it. If they don't have the funds to pay for it and they meet the criteria for Medicaid, then the Northern Kentucky Area Development District has a program to help them. But again, there's a waiting list. So we can give them the information they need, build them up, they get excited, and then they call the ed district, and then there's a waiting list. But at least we get them on that waiting list and they can get that help. But there's just so many limited resources that these folks have, particularly those on the fixed income. Every week we have somebody come in looking for housing or call us looking for housing. And it's devastating because we typically can't help them. Now we do, and we make sure that the subsidized housing applications are filled out. We make sure if they want to go Section 8, they have their vouchers, and we help them fill those out. We even get online and call individual places that take the voucher or are lower income and get these people on waiting list. But people who are at risk for homelessness or are homeless also have other issues, and they come side by side. Well, we are completely free for everybody, no matter what you need as far as 62 and up. And we had some money that has been set aside that we've been using, which is dwindling down. So any donation can come through Venmo or PayPal, or just calling the Senior Resource Center or calling the St. Charles community, who is in essence funding us completely.